Welcome, YouTube family. Welcome to another video of the Kevin Strong Show. And in this video, we're going to talk about 7 myths that basically keep people from getting out of middle class into the next bracket. It's more of a mindset than anything else. I was challenged with this for a long period of time. I still struggle with it at times, but when you talk about things about how do you get out of the middle class, how do you get up to that next level, some of us either don't know how to do it. Some of the things that's required for you to get to the next level can be very daunting and intimidating. So I wanted to share this article with you to hopefully inspire you to basically maximize your potential, because you all are keenly aware that inflation and other factors is no longer allowing you to just remain complacent or remain stagnant and think in the long run that's going to be the key to a peaceful and happy life. So, without further ado, let's get into this. I hope you guys are enjoying this content. Once again, please do me a great honor, subscribe, comment, and share because I care. So let's get into the article. So I'm going to start off by reading this because I think it sets up this topic very nicely. It was a guy who did a bunch of research over like 30 something years. And basically, he says, I discovered that the super wealthy have a different set of beliefs, philosophies, and strategies than those who identify as, quote, the middle class. Their secrets to getting rich wasn't in the mechanics of money. Rather, it was their values and the level of thinking that generated it. So that's all about mindset. And that's why I'm a key component of show me your friends. I'll show you your future. I'm big on the analogy. I've been recently telling family and friends that, if you're in a toxic situation, whether it's a work environment or a relationship environment, it's almost akin to being entering into a room where 5 people are in this room, and let's just say that room represents like a subculture. Replace that with your work environment, maybe even your relationship. And what happens is that everybody in this room smokes like 3 packs of cigarettes a day. And they've been doing that for the last 20 years. So you enter that room, and immediately the smell just kicks you back and stops you in mid stride. And you're telling everybody in this toxic environment that, hey, wait a minute, this smells like crap. This is horrible. Everybody turns against you. You're the breath of fresh air, no pun intended, but they've been accustomed to being in a toxic environment for so long, they don't even realize that the issues is within that environment. The person from the outside trying to breathe, pun intended, fresh air into that environment is the one who's actually trying to wake everybody up. But because they've been operating and been so used to being in that environment, they don't see it for what it is. It's easy to go a whole lifetime in delusion or just not being really keen to what's going on, because typically birds of a feather flock together. Your friends pretty much emulate you in terms of your educational level, your income level, your beliefs, your value system. Otherwise, you wouldn't hang around those people. So when someone is striving to maybe do more than that subset, sometimes people naturally get defensive about it because it makes them re-examine their self-worth. So enough of the rant. Let's get into the article. It's going to talk about 7 myths, and each point is going to have something that you can do to change your mindset. Before I get into the article, I'm going to go over some quick stats. I forgot about this. And this is based on 2022. I'm going to pick the state of Washington, the state of Florida, and the state of Ohio. I'm going to also link this article that I'm talking about now regarding these stats in the description below. So make sure you click on that if you're interested to see in 2022 what makes up middle class income. And keep in mind, we're talking about income. In the state of Washington, a 2-person family, if you're in the income range between $53,000 and $160,000, that's considered middle class. A 3-person family is $61,000 to $182,000. 4-person family in the state of Washington, $71,000 to $214,000 is considered middle class. Now let's go all the way down to the southeast corner of the United States, Florida, and a 2-person family income there, they need to make between $41,000 and $124,000 to be considered middle class. 3-person family, $45,000 to $136,000. 4-person family, $54,000 to $162,000. And finally, I wanted to round off with something in the Midwest, Ohio, where I'm originally from. A two-person family in Ohio needs between 43 and 127,000. Three-person family is 50 to 151,000, and a four-person family in the state of Ohio to be middle class is 61 to 182,000. So I'm going to provide you a link to this information because that article that I'm speaking of, I only took 3 states, but it lists every state. It lists all 50 states, and it tells you based on 2, 3, or 4-person family household where you fall into in terms of whether or not you're considered income. Don't get too fixated on that. Some of you guys who know me on a personal level and professional level know I'm all about trying to create your net worth. Any retard, excuse my language, I hope this doesn't get flagged by YouTube, but any idiot can tell you, well, I made 160, I made $200,000 a year. Well, hell, I don't know what your debt is. I don't know what your monthly obligations are. If you want to brag about something, tell me how much you're saving. Tell me how much you're investing. Tell me how much you're creating a net worth. That's the difference between chess and checkers. Anybody can make $200,000 a year and spend every dime. So that's not a coincidence that within the first 5 years, over 70% of the people who hit the lotto end up being broke again because they don't know how to manage money. So without further ado, let's get into the news. This first one talks about working hard, even at a job I hate, will make me rich. Most people commit to jobs they consider tolerable, and they stick with it for years while simultaneously worrying about getting fired or dreaming of the day they can finally get to retire. And I talk about this especially in my set, and people know from my day job what do I mean by that. So I have to be careful about that. They're so excited to get the job, and then the last 10 years they can't wait to get the hell out of the job. Okay, but they said it's something that they always wanted. It's something that they always wanted to do, but they spend half the time counting their clock as to when they can stop doing said job. It's weird to say the least. So here's for point one. Here's to change your mindset for point one. It's possible to do what you love and get super wealthy doing it. Find a rich and successful person who is passionate about their job and ask them how they got there. Get inspired. Now, they're saying super rich and all those other things. I'm just saying if you enjoy what you do for a living and it meets your economic parameters and you're happy with that, then blessings to your last breath. But if you're not and you're constantly complaining, do something about it or just be quiet. I guess there's no other way to say that. Second point, you can't get rich without a formal education. Middle-class individuals believe that their investments in formal education determines their wealth. But if the secret to building wealth was excellent grades, then every summa cum laude graduate would be a multimillionaire. This is true. So please keep in mind, I know you hear this story about, I think the owner of Dell dropped out of the University of Texas or something. Now he's worth $23 billion. I mean, by and large, I think if you pick something that has a transferable skill, that's highly desirable in the marketplace, and you get the right education to facilitate that, you can make a lot of money. There's nothing wrong with being an accountant, but if you want a more upper middle class lifestyle, maybe you ought to transition from being an accountant to owning your own accounting firm. And I think that's where the difference between that middle class mindset is in terms of just give me the paycheck, tell me what to do, and I'm going to go home every day. And somebody that's really willing to kind of stretch their comfort zone a little bit and take some risks. And that's a personal preference. But at the end of the day, you have to be happy. So here's to change your mindset for number two. Formal education does not guarantee success or wealth. I think we all agree and understand that. If you love sales, for example, take an online course that will strengthen your skills in that field. Bill Gates has credited much of his success to reading 50 books a year. So there you go. There's another example. Number three, getting rich isn't up to me. The average person believes being rich is a privilege awarded only to a few of the lucky. There's a book called The Millionaire Next Door. I forgot, it was a co-authored book, and basically 2/3 of millionaires in the United States are first-generation millionaires. These people do not come from wealth. They are not born with the proverbial silver spoon in their mouth. They have took risks or have gotten highly educated, but more importantly, they lived below their means. They drove American cars. They had cars that were 5 and 10 years old, and they basically were always trying to beat inflation and was playing the long game. They did not become prisoners of instant gratification. I got to have it now, which is typically a um, a certain mindset that a lot of times that will prevent you from getting to the next level. So let's get here. Let's see here. What was the change in your mindset? Instead of focusing on how you can save more money or groceries and bills this month, brainstorm new ideas that have the potential to fix a common problem. Once again, these are all things that if you're trying to get to that next level, if you're happy where you are and you're complacent, you do you. That's all I'll say about that. Number 4, extreme wealth changes people for the worse. Contrary to popular belief, money can be a force of good. Based on my interviews, the majority of the middle class have a set of beliefs and philosophies that suggest success and money turns people into greedy, corrupt, and uncaring oppressors. I don't think that at all. I've got a lot of friends who have a pretty high net worth, and they actually really relish helping people and seeing people maximize their potential. And I think that's something that we in the middle class don't do enough of, because there's a lot of jealousy and enviness, because there's that keeping up with the Jones mentality. Now that mentality does permeate in upper middle class and among the wealth, but they're not so fixated on childish gossip and just negative things to pull people down. I don't think that's the mindset of somebody who's at that level, because they have so many other things that they're worrying about. Change your mindset for that point. If you always strive to be a kinder and more giving person, money will likely strengthen your good morals and characteristics. I applaud that 100%. We've got 3 more. Playing it safe with your money is a good thing. This is a middle class people. This is a middle class mindset. Totally. They believe there will never be enough of something. As a result, they're extremely conservative with their finances. They fear that if they lose money, they won't be able to make it back. And that's that W-2 mentality. There's nothing wrong with that, because there's people who are making hundreds and hundreds of thousands of dollars in a W-2 environment, but that's not the norm. That's not the average income. The average income in the United States is about $35,000 to $36,000. So typically somebody who's making hundreds of thousands of dollars as a W-2 employee typically doesn't have that mindset, and they also have enough money to actually invest and do other things that will result in increasing their net worth. Change your mindset on this point. Increase your tolerance for taking risks by betting on yourself in the undertaking of a new venture, investment, or partnership. This is true. When I became 50 years old, years and years and years ago, there's no secret to that, almost 7 years ago, I'm terrified of heights. So what did I do for my 50th birthday? I went up to northern part of Seattle and I jumped out of an airplane. True story. So let's move on to this next one. It's important to teach my kids how to save money. Solely focusing on saving money is the secret downfall of the masses. It's not that saving is bad, but it's the level of consciousness that it originates from that makes it so dangerous. Save your money, get a job, in the long run, and then wait till you get 60 years old, and then you're going to be able to benefit from the fruits of your labor. I think that's a misnomer. That's a myth that's passed on to the masses, as this point is saying right here. And I've already talked about it, so I'm not going to spend any more time talking about the mindset of a 401k and 457 and some of the big drawbacks to that. Please watch one of my other videos that talks about retirement, and then that will kind of expound on those 2 points. Changing your mindset. Saving is important, but set an example for your kids by emphasizing the importance of knowing how to grow money too. Show them that investing can be fun and that it's okay to spend their money basically on things that make them happy. You only live once, but you have to do that with balance. Because saving money doesn't necessarily keep up with inflation, and inflation will erode your buying power and your purchasing power. That's why you just don't get fixated on just saving, but learning how to invest and create a net worth. Money makes people stressed and emotional. Most people never accumulate massive wealth because they see money through the eyes of negative emotions. I don't know if I necessarily agree with that. Once again, I think that has to do with the mindset. Well, how did you get there? Or I wouldn't want those problems. Well, hell, I wouldn't want to be making $9 an hour and having 5 kids either. Now, I'm not saying that out there to say if that's somebody's situation that they deserve it, but I'm saying everybody wants a better quality of life for themselves and their family and children. So if someone's able to achieve that and they've done it in a moral and ethical way, don't be so quick to dismiss it. Maybe try to learn from it. To change your mindset from that point is use your logic to dictate your financial strategy and use your emotions to motivate yourself to stick to it. Stay persistent and don't give up. Final point is being comfortable is more than enough. This is that complacency thing I was talking about in the last video. I try to stay away from this like the plague. That's like me going down south in the 60s. I'm not doing it, homie. Anyway, just a joke. Don't unsubscribe. I only got about 60 of you guys. So please hang with a brother. Anyway, getting back to this last point, after several decades of sitting through surveys, interviewing transcripts, and studies, I found that more than anything else, physical, psychological, and emotional comfort is the primary goal of the middle class. They don't want you to upset the apple cart. There's a movie, I'm not a movie, there's a book called Who Moved My Cheese? The essence of the book deals with complacency. And if you read that book, it's an eye opener. People get fixated on the W-2. They associate that with job security and a lot of other things. And a lot of people get laid off who thought they had secure jobs. So it's a very relative thing. Your mindset and your perception of your livelihood does not necessarily make it reality. And sometimes you find that out when your boss calls you into the office and says that he has to lay you off. The mindset change for this last point is achieving massive goals is never a walk in the park. Those who push forward get rewarded. Considering making a list of 5 things you must do today that may be uncomfortable, but will get you a few steps closer to greater wealth. So I hope you guys really enjoyed this. This one went on for quite a bit, a little bit over than what I anticipated. So I hope you were able to pull something from that. Do something that makes you happy. And if you're not happy, change your environment. And I'm not telling you to quit your job and do something that's going to be high risk. Or maybe you start a side hustle and see if that can evolve into something that can replace your full-time job and do it in a systematic but somewhat low-risk fashion. This is going to conclude the show of the Kevin Strong Show. Once again, please subscribe, comment, and share because I care. And I'll come out tomorrow with another video. So please make sure you subscribe, and I'll see you guys in the next video.